Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to start a new series where we're going to create a library that we can publish to NPM. The library is going to let us work with web workers in a way that feels more like we're working with an HTTP API, and it's going to be compatible with vanilla JavaScript projects, and it's going to provide type definitions for TypeScript projects. Today I'm just going to go through a minimal setup so that we have a nice, smooth development experience. So make sure you hit the subscribe button and turn notifications on so you don't miss out on the rest of the series. And it would help me out if you gave this video a thumbs up and leave a comment below. Okay, so I've got an empty project here with no files inside of it. The most obvious thing that we need to do is run npm init so that we set up our package JSON. So I'll run npm init. I'm just going to go with all of the defaults. I'm not going to fill in any of the details right now. Looks good. So we've got a basic npm package here. The next thing I'm going to do is install TypeScript. So we can use TypeScript in this project and set up a minimalist TS config, just enough to get us running. So I'll say npm install save dev TypeScript, and I'll create the TS config file as well. So echo. So just to get us started, say find some compiler options. Say that the target is going to be ES5 so that we have browser compatibility. Say the module is, we'll use CommonJS. Let's say declaration is going to be true. By default, it's false. But what this is going to do is when we compile the TypeScript to JavaScript, it's going to also generate some TypeScript definition files so that we have strong types when we're using TypeScript with this library. And I'll say that the outdir is going to be dist. So it's going to compile the TypeScript into a dist folder. And I'm going to tell the TypeScript compiler to include everything in the source folder and to exclude everything from node modules. So we don't want to be bundling our dependencies as part of the project. We just want to compile our source code. All right, so let's create some source code so we can test this out. So make a new directory src, and I'm going to make a new file. I'm just going to say test.ts, and in this file I'm going to say export class my test class, and it's just going to have a function called hello that's going to console.log hello from my test class, just so we can see that this thing works. And I'm also going to create an index.ts file, and this is just going to provide a single file that people who are consuming this, so they don't have to import from specific files. They just have a single entry point. So in here, I'll say export everything from test. So anytime we want to make something available from this library, we can just add an export for it in this index file. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add some scripts. I'm going to say that npm run build is just going to run the TypeScript compiler for right now. Maybe we'll add gulp or some task runner to build the project in future, but the TypeScript compiler should be fine for now. And I'm going to add a pre-publish command, which will run npm run build. So this pre-publish is going to run before we bundle up our library for publishing to NPM. All right, so let's test our commands. First, I'm going to try npm run build. Should run the TypeScript compiler, and we should get a dist folder, which we do. And you can see that it's compiled the TypeScript into JavaScript, and we also have these definition files. So people using TypeScript will have the TypeScript types alongside of this project. So there's a couple more changes I need to make in the package JSON. This main file, I need to change this to point at the index file in the dist folder. So whenever somebody imports something from the worker API library, it's going to look at this index file, which should have everything that we want to expose from the library. And I can also provide types, which will be dist/index.d.ts. So all of the types will also be exported from this index file. And just to be fancy, I'm going to add a scope to this package name. So I'm going to say at jdset/worker-API. So when somebody installs this library, in the node modules, there's going to be an at jdset folder with the library inside it. So if I publish more libraries, I can put them in this scope and then they'll all be grouped together. Okay, so this is ready to test now. So I'm going to do npm pack, which is going to do everything that npm publish does, except it's not going to publish anything to npm. It's just going to build the distribution file locally. So there's that npm run build, which is that pre-publish, and there we go. So now we've got this tgz file in the root of our directory, and this is the thing that would get pushed to NPM if we did NPM publish. But since we ran NPM pack and we have this locally, we can test our library out locally before pushing anything to NPM. So I'm going to try that right now. So I've got an empty Angular project here, using Angular just because everything comes out of the box ready to run. And it's using TypeScript by default, so I can test the JavaScript functionality as well as the TypeScript types. So anybody who's used NPM before has done NPM install. Usually you just run NPM install and then the package name that's been published to NPM. But you can also do NPM install and point to one of these local TGZ files, and it's going to do pretty much the same thing. So I'm going to do that npm I, and then I can navigate to that file. So if I go up a directory and go to worker API / there we go, point at that file. There we go. It installed the library. In the package.json, you can see that the dependency looks a little bit different. So it's a file that's at this location. And if you look at node module, since I put it under that @j2set scope, I've got an @j2set folder. And inside of that, I've got my worker API library. Now that I look at it, it looks like we bundled a little bit too much. So I've got a .idea folder and a source folder that shouldn't be there. So to fix that, I just need to come in here and explicitly say what files should be included in the distribution. So it's just going to be stuff in the dist folder. So now if I run npm pack again, and then come back to my Angular project and do that install again, we shouldn't have all that extra stuff that we shouldn't have had. Now if we look in worker API, all we have is the dist folder. So that looks good now. We've just got a package.json and the distribution files that we actually want to expose in the library. So now we can test it out. So I'm just going to add a constructor, and in this constructor I'll say const test equals new test. What did we call that thing? My test class. New my test class. For some reason, when I do the local installation, IntelliJ isn't able to resolve the reference to the class in the library. So I have to manually write my import statement. It works fine once I manually write it, but the auto import doesn't work. So if you know why that doesn't work, leave a comment below and let me know. j2set / worker API. There we go. Now I can run test.hello. I get the autocomplete because I add those TypeScript definitions. And now if I run ngserve and check it out in my browser, look in the developer console, see that hello from my class was logged. So it looks like our library is working. All right, so that's the end of part 1. We've got a basic setup in place for our library. In the next video, we'll start actually implementing the library. So make sure you hit the subscribe button and turn notifications on so you don't miss it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.